This video is produced solely for educational, analytical, and public discussion purposes. It is based on open-source intelligence, international media reporting, and widely available strategic studies. It does not support, promote, or justify military action, violence, or armed conflict in any form. Some elements of the narration use cinematic and illustrative language to support visual understanding and are not statements of classified or operational facts. The views expressed do not represent any government, institution, or organization. In recent years, the Strait of Hormuz has remained one of the most closely watched maritime corridors in the world. Narrow in geography but vast in consequence. This waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the open seas and serves as a critical passage for global energy supplies. Against this backdrop, reports that Iran has deployed submarines to the Strait of Hormuz have drawn renewed international attention. The development comes amid rising regional tensions, overlapping security concerns, and ongoing strategic competition among regional and global powers. While submarine deployments are not new to the region, their timing and context invite deeper examination of why this move matters and how it fits into broader patterns of maritime security. Historically, the Strait of Hormuz has been shaped by geography and politics alike. At its narrowest point, it is only a few dozen kilometers wide, yet a significant share of the world's seaborne oil and liquefied natural gas transits through it every day. For decades, this reality has made the strait a focal point of international security planning. Any perceived threat to its openness quickly becomes a global concern, not only for energy importing nations but also for financial markets, shipping companies, and governments far beyond the Middle East. Iran's strategic location along the northern coast of the strait has long given it a central role in this equation, whether through diplomacy, deterrence, or military posture. The current reports of Iranian submarine activity should be understood within this longer historical and strategic context. Iran has invested for years in developing asymmetric naval capabilities designed to operate in constrained maritime environments. Submarines, particularly smaller diesel-electric models, are often viewed as tools that can complicate an adversary's planning without requiring large surface fleets. Their presence alone can influence calculations by other naval forces operating in or near the strait. This does not automatically signal imminent conflict, but it does suggest an effort to reinforce deterrence and signal readiness during a period of heightened uncertainty. Geopolitically, tensions surrounding Iran are shaped by multiple overlapping factors. These include long-standing disputes over sanctions, concerns related to nuclear policy, regional rivalries, and the presence of foreign naval forces in nearby waters. The Strait of Hormuz sits at the intersection of these dynamics. For Iran, maintaining leverage in this area has often been framed as a way to counterbalance external pressure. For other states, ensuring freedom of navigation through the strait is a core security interest tied to economic stability. When submarines enter this picture, they add a layer of complexity to already delicate interactions, from a military and technical perspective. Submarines are valued less for their firepower than for their stealth. Even when operating defensively, their ability to remain unseen can affect how other navies allocate resources, conduct patrols, and manage risk. In narrow and busy waterways like the Strait of Hormuz, this effect is amplified by heavy commercial traffic, shallow waters, and complex acoustic conditions. Analysts often note that such environments can reduce the effectiveness of traditional detection systems, increasing uncertainty for all parties involved. How much of this uncertainty is intentional signaling, and how much is routine posture, remains an open question. The presence of Iranian submarines also has implications for regional naval balances. Neighboring Gulf states, many of which rely on maritime trade and energy exports, closely monitor developments in the strait. Several maintain security partnerships with external powers, adding another layer of interaction. When one actor adjusts its posture, others may respond through increased patrols, exercises, or diplomatic engagement. This raises an important analytical question: does a submarine deployment primarily serve as a stabilizing deterrent, or does it risk triggering a cycle of mutual escalation driven by perception rather than intent? On the global level, the Strait of Hormuz is not just a regional concern. Major economies in Asia, Europe, and beyond depend on energy flows that pass through this corridor. Even short-term disruptions, or the perception that disruption is possible, can influence oil prices and insurance costs. This economic sensitivity means that military developments in the strait are often interpreted through both security and financial lenses. A submarine deployment, while tactically limited, can therefore have strategic ripple effects that extend far beyond the immediate region. It is also important to consider how information about such deployments circulates. Much of what is publicly known comes from open-source intelligence, satellite imagery, official statements, and media reporting. These sources provide valuable insight but are often incomplete. Governments may emphasize certain aspects of a deployment while downplaying others, shaping narratives for domestic or international audiences. For analysts and viewers alike, this raises the question of how to interpret signals without overestimating their meaning or underestimating the potential for miscalculation. Another layer of analysis involves international maritime law and norms. The Strait of Hormuz is recognized as an international strait where transit passage is protected under international law. At the same time, coastal states maintain security interests in their adjacent waters. Balancing these principles has always been challenging, especially during periods of political tension. Submarine operations, by their nature, are less visible and more ambiguous than surface deployments, which can complicate transparency and confidence-building efforts. Looking ahead, several hypothetical scenarios are often discussed in strategic circles. One possibility is that submarine deployments remain a routine element of deterrence, gradually normalized as part of the regional security environment. Another is that increased naval activity on all sides raises the risk of incidents, even if none of the actors seek direct confrontation. How might other regional or global powers adjust their naval presence in response? Could this lead to new diplomatic initiatives aimed at reducing risk in the strait, or will military signaling continue to dominate? Long-term implications also deserve attention. As energy markets evolve and some countries seek to diversify supply routes or reduce dependence on fossil fuels, the strategic centrality of the Strait of Hormuz may change, but it is unlikely to disappear in the near future. In the meantime, developments like submarine deployments highlight how traditional military tools continue to shape modern security debates. They also underscore the enduring relevance of maritime geography in international politics, even in an era of cyber capabilities and space-based systems. Throughout this discussion, it is crucial to avoid framing the situation in overly simplistic terms. Military movements do not exist in isolation, and they rarely convey a single, clear message. They interact with diplomacy, economics, domestic politics, and historical memory. Understanding why Iran deploys submarines to the Strait of Hormuz requires attention to all these factors, as well as an awareness of how other actors perceive and respond to those actions. As we step back and reflect on the broader picture, several key points stand out. The Strait of Hormuz remains a strategic choke point with global significance. Submarine deployments, while not new, take on added meaning during periods of heightened tension. They influence perceptions of deterrence, risk, and stability, even when no direct confrontation occurs. At the same time, much of what is known publicly is based on open sources, requiring careful interpretation and a willingness to question assumptions. Ultimately, understanding developments like this is less about predicting conflict and more about appreciating complexity. Maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz is shaped by overlapping interests, constraints, and uncertainties. A rational, fact-based approach helps illuminate these dynamics without resorting to alarmism or advocacy. By examining the issue in a balanced and long-term perspective, observers can better grasp why seemingly limited military actions attract such widespread attention, and why thoughtful analysis remains essential in an interconnected world.